Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome back to another video for EVE Online. In today's video I wanted to talk about the Vagabond. This is very fast becoming my most flown and favourite ship in EVE Online. It's actually on the verge of overtaking the Hurricane as my favourite. Hurricane is one of those ships, I love it, but I just can't undock it frequently enough, whereas the Vagabond, I'm undocking it all the time these days, and I just love this ship to pieces. Now, I've done an entire video talking about using the Vagabond for C3 ratting. It can do every single one of the 4 combat sites in there. But lately, I've been pushing it to a couple of other limits, and I wanted to showcase that in this video. So if you're a fan of the Vagabond, stick around to see why I'm now really enjoying this ship even more. And if you're not a fan of the Vagabond and are just interested in, well, why is Benzie ranting and raving about this ship again, stay tuned to find out why. If you are a pilot of the Vagabond, by the way, I would love to hear from you in the comment section down below. I want as many different fits as possible. I want to know all the crazy kinds of content that you are running with this ship. Tell me your best PvP kills. Tell me your best fits and what kind of content you're running in this. Whether you're doing nullsec content or abyssals or whatever. I'd love to know what you guys are doing so that I can just undock this ship more and showcase it even more. Now, if you do enjoy this content, let me know. Drop a comment down below, hit like. Both of those things take you a split second. They really help the channel out massively. Thank you everyone who does so. If you do want to go the extra mile to help support me in content like this, you can head across to my PayPal page, where you can drop a little tip in the tip jar there, maybe buy me a cup of coffee or whatever. I do have a Patreon page where you can pledge to support as well, get your name in the credits of every one of my videos, and I've got a Redbubble merchandise store. Now, admittedly, I don't make any profit on that merchandise store. It's just a load of cool Catskull and Benzie themed stuff that I just get a real kick out of the concept that someone's walking around there in one of my t-shirts or using a notepad with their like Captain Benzie on it. I make no profit on any of those items. They're literally marked up 0% just because I think it's fun to, think of that. So if there's something you guys like, let me know. Finally, if you are new to EVE Online, 2 things in the description down below. There is a referral link, get you 1 million free skill points, even on existing accounts, and the Catskull community Discord as well, where you can come chat with a bunch of like-minded folks about EVE Online and other space-related games, and just meet a great bunch of folks to chat with, basically. If you want to join the Catskull Cartel Corporation in EVE Online as well, that's where you apply, so come do that. We'd love to have you. Anyway, all of that said and done, let's talk about the Vagabond. So I'll be honest, the footage you're seeing now absolutely blew my mind. I thought, you know what, let's just try one of these sites with a Vagabond. This is a Forgotten Frontier recursive depot, and there is a lot, and I mean a lot of DPS comes off this particular site. You can actually see I took quite a bit of damage onto my armor at one point before managing to get my my velocity and my traversal up to the point that my shield booster could recover from it. That's why the assault damage control unit was a little bit lower for a moment there. It was just coming off cooldown. I managed to stabilize, managed to get back in there, and now that I'm trying to approach those battleships, you can see the shield is holding up a lot better. Definitely those upholders are a problem. I know it took a long time, I think, to swap between Hail and Barrage, so I was struggling to hit that upholder and take it down quickly. I took a lot of damage, and that kind of pushed me into a situation where I had to activate the assault damage control quickly to stay alive, but decided to stick it out, keep going, and just push through. And the wonderful thing about this is if you can keep up that traversal against those sleepless upholders, they do almost no damage at all. Now, annoyingly, while I was recording this bit of footage, I ran out of hard drive space, so the third wave, which is 3 battleships, didn't actually get fully recorded. But I can tell you as a promise, as a Captain Benzie promise, this had no trouble even running that third wave with 3 battleships. You just keep up that angular velocity around them, get as close to them as you can, and once the orbit is up, they just stop hitting you. They just stop hitting you. You can see here 2 of them. I'm not getting hit at all, and I'm just doing an orbit around one of them. So there are moments where I'm sort of approaching or moving directly away from the second one. I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe that the Vagabond could solo the unsecured and forgotten data sites, to the point that I went back and was like, okay, well, we've got the Forgotten Frontier Recursive Depot. You can see the unsecured Frontier Receiver. It's a bit of an easier site, a little bit of neutralization goes on there. That's already been marked as safe. Every single site that spawned, I took this Vagabond into it and cleared them all out. That means all 4 of the C3 combat sites can be run, all of the unsecured and forgotten sites, the Vagabond will do them. This makes me kind of want to take it into a C4 and really push it through those sites and see if it's worth running those. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's not worth running C4s, they take longer than C3s and the additional ISK isn't worth it on an ISK per hour, but that does kind of ignore the fact that sometimes you don't have a C3 available, like you've got no sites left in it, and there's a C4 that's got a ton of sites in it. So it's good to know, can the Vagabond handle that? So I think that's why I'll be testing it next. But here you can see, coming into that final battleship then for this wave, again, I've just kind of set an orbit. Just set an orbit and just let the ship do its thing. And it's fine. I couldn't believe it. All 8 C3 sites, 1 ship, 1 fit. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this fit because it is exactly the same one as I've been running for the C3 1 site, 1 fit does all sites video. So if you want to get that, the videos on the channel as well. I'll put a card up top if I remember and a link in the description down below. You can check it out and grab the fit from there. Just as a very quick rundown, we're looking at 425mm autocannon 2s with a core probe launcher 2 there to help me scan some stuff down. You might actually want to take this up to something like a sisters with definitely some sisters. That 66 points is a little bit low, but it does help me get a wormhole if I need to. Our tank is a Pitham C-type medium shield booster, supported with a multi-spectrum shield hardener 2. I have a Thucker large cap battery for additional cap stability, and a 10 meganewton afterburner 2, just to allow me to maneuver through the sites. I probably will bling this all up a little bit more as time goes on, but for me right now, it's doing the job, right? You've just seen it doing unsecured sites on its own with this same fit, so it doesn't need the bling, but I'm flying it enough, I may as well just get faster clear times, right? Low slots, we have 3 gyro stabilizer 2s, a tracking enhancer 2, and an assault damage control 2. One thing I will say about this fit is that if you are running this into a black hole, as I just did in some of those sites, it might be worth either learning to manually slow your ship down or swapping one of those gyros for a second tracking enhancer, just because you can be moving so fast that you actually, scupper your own tracking. The rigs are a medium kinetic shield reinforcer 2 and a medium thermal shield reinforcer 2, just to bring those defense percentages up that little bit higher. Drones, otherwise, you've got enough space for 5 light drones. I tend to use Hobgoblin 2s. I know a lot of people absolutely swear by Hornet 2s. Whatever, they're just drones, right? It's 89 DPS out of the 757, so it's not really enough for me to worry too much about. But that's the fit you've just seen in action. Yeah, I could not believe that this would actually run the data and relic sites in a C3 as well. So it really is one fit, does every single site that can spawn in a C3. And for me, that is just bonkers. So we had a situation down our chain where a Vedmak had been hunting some of our gas huffers, and essentially most of them had managed to escape, but the shout came out that this Vedmak had been on grid. We managed to get it to jump towards a wormhole, get a flycatcher onto it, and hold it in position. I then immediately jumped through with this particular Vagabond, the extra large ancillary shield booster one, and oh boy, the fight was on. I do love a Vedmak. These are great little cruisers. I love the Triglavian vessels, and I know exactly what they can do. So I made sure to engage as quickly as possible, overheat those autocannons quickly because they are designed for taking out frigates, not for cruisers. Straight away, boom, we're in. That thing is down in absolute seconds. Now, normally we don't pod people in wormholes because it can be a bit of a trek to get back, but this guy had been calling us out in chat and getting a little bit leery, so we decided no, this time around we were just going to handle it. And what a speed that went down. The Legion barely got a couple of shots in. I think on the kill mail there I was top damage and final blow on it. Might not have been final blow actually, but what a great little fight there. Vagabond just comes in and absolutely wrecks stuff up. Oh, that's right. Looking at D-scan there, it wasn't our miners had been harassing only. We'd had a couple of ratters in there, and a Praxis had barely made it out. That reminds me, that's not our Praxis. I think that was one of his friends who then decided, nope, maybe not a good idea to jump on grid with this. But again, check that out. That was no problems at all. Very quick, very easy kill. Brilliant. I'm looking to get some more kills here with the Vagabond. Hopefully we'll get some good fights with that, but we'll see. This next fit is actually a PvP fit. Can you believe, yes, Benzie is trying out PvP, and in honesty, I've had a lot of success with it in the sense that I haven't really lost many of these at all. Haven't got that many kills with them though, because people keep running from fights. Yeah. I don't get the PvP situation in EVE Online right now. You can go into faction warfare with a tier 1 rifter and people warp away when they've got 3 destroyers sitting on the faction warfare complex rather than take on the fight. Or you get the situation like when we went into a certain alliance's space. I'll let you figure out which group this is. Bonus points in the comment section down below, by the way, if you do guess which alliance it was that did this to us. We took a fleet of 12 Tech 1 cruisers, things like stabbers, supported by some scythes and things like that, with a needlejack filament into nullsec. We got about 3 or 4 jumps across a few systems before we were dropped on by 5 marauders, literally 3 paladins and 2 vargas, followed by 3 or 4 heavy high angular weaponry dreads, horde dreads. And then a fleet of the total fleet was about 58 ships, I think, so that's about 40 odd other Tech 2, Tech 1.5, Navy issue vessels onto us. That's been the kind of PvP experience I've had recently. It's either no one wants to fight, or they just drop a fleet of like 50 odd ships, including marauders and capitals, onto Tech 1 cruisers. So I'm struggling to find PvP. I have had some kills with this, as you saw a moment ago, but let's talk about the fit and why I really enjoy this, because this is fun. This is a really fun ship to fly, right? Anyway, high slots. We have 180mm autocannon 2s, dual 180mm autocannon 2s. These have excellent application and damage, so they can take out cruisers and frigates. Your DPS is a little bit lower, but your application and tracking is monstrous on these, so it just eats through enemy frigates. If you are going after cruisers, you can swap these for something like, your 280s or whatever, in order for a bit of extra DPS and damage out of those, but that's what this fit's designed for, this particular version of it. In the final high slot then, an auto-targeting system. This is never used for its actual activatable. You keep that off at all times. It's just to give you the additional lock-ons. For our mid slots then, Warp Scrambler 2, because we're going to be fighting within 9,000 meters for the most part. This just holds someone in place. Ideally, you'd probably want to take this up to something like a Caldari Navy or whatever, just to get that Warp Scramble strength of 3, which makes it even harder for people to run away, but it does also turn off their micro warp drives if they're trying to burn away from you. We then have 2 extra large ancillary shield boosters. Check out the shield booster rate on these bad boys. 9 charges on each of these before they have to reload. Now, admittedly, that reload is, a minute or however long it is. It's a long, long time. So you cycle between these, and hopefully the fight is long done before you need to reload them. But 539 hit points per second out of that, it is just juicy. And that's cap stable. God damn. 10 meganewton afterburner 2 just to get that little bit of propulsion. With that on, you're moving 908.9 meters per second. You can catch almost every other cruiser, destroyer, and frigate in the game unless they're micro warp drive fit. It does really, really well, and it just chews through stuff when it's close up. So you get close, you orbit, and you just beat the living daylights out of them. For the low slots then, we do need a couple of coprocessor 2s and a Dark Blood reactor control unit in order to cram all of this stuff in, but in my opinion, well worth it. That's then supported with a gyro stabilizer 2 and a EFFA compact assault damage control unit, just to be able to give you that, oh damn, I'm taking a bit too much damage. Put that on for 8 seconds whilst you are getting shot at. Maybe you just need to finish off a reload or something. It's a great way just to reduce the incoming damage for a few seconds, so you're not having to worry about using up your extra large shield booster charges. For the rig slots then, medium ancillary current router 2 and a medium kinetic shield reinforcer. The ancillary is obviously just to, again, plug additional stuff into this and be able to actually fit it within the fitting requirements. And the medium kinetic shield reinforcer is just to deal with the fact that this does have slightly lower shield resistances under thermal without it. I mean, if I turn that off, you'll see that we drop down to 44% kinetic. With it on, we're up at 63, which is much, much better for reducing that incoming damage. But that's the PvP fit. And there we have it, folks, the Minmatar's Tech 2 heavy assault cruiser, the Vagabond. I am utterly in love with this vessel. It looks amazing, it flies amazing, it is incredibly versatile. I am having so much fun with this. And ultimately, the fact that I've got one ship that does every single site in a C3, yeah, That's pretty badass. It'll also, by the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, will run the gas sites and help clear those of rats as well. So as a wormhole incorporation, I can just undock this and do everything. I can take out any of the C3 combat anomalies. I can leave the easier ones for people who maybe don't fly something as powerful as I can. I can then go through all the more difficult sites there, like the Outpost Frontier, the Aruse, the Solar Cell. I can go into the unsecured and forgotten data sites and clear those for our explorers to come into, or if there's no one online, I can then go back with my cheater and hack those for a bit of extra loot. I can even go into the gas sites and clear out all of the rats in those for my friends to then come in, or again, myself on an alt, to come in and huff all of that gas. What is not to love about this vessel, right? Yeah, I want to see this used more in other content as well. Some people have asked, Benzie, do you do case-based content? Not really. I've never had much need to. Like, I know this will do L3s quite comfortably. I've been using this to run all the Tetramon sites during the Crimson Harvest event. There's so much you can do with this. And if you fly a Vagabond and you've got some tips or tricks, please let me know in the comment section down below. Anyway, folks, finally, before we go, I want to give a big thank you and shout out to everyone who supports me on Patreon. Your names are coming up in the stars at the end of the video in just a moment, and a huge thank you to everyone who donates to my Patreon, PayPal tip jar as well. That really does keep me going. It's enough to just grab me a coffee from time to time while I'm out and about, which is a great way to sort of keep me energized about making content. Some of you leave lovely little comments and that as well. I don't often respond. I try to respond to all of them, but I don't often get all of them. So thank you so much to everyone who does. It really does mean the world to me. Anyway, thanks for watching this one right the way through to the end, folks. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.